In the summer of 1933, three men set out across Bhutan's hidden valleys and Tibet's high passes, one carrying politics, the others chasing science. What they found was a world of glaciers, dzongs, rare plants, and a hospitality few outsiders had ever known.
It's 2:20 a.m. I'm still buried in the Himalayan Club Journals, century-old field notes from the Himalayas. It's like diving deep into the documented history of the Himalayas from the early 1900s. The journals cover everything, from indigenous wisdom, cultural myths, to epic expeditions and groundbreaking discoveries. These forgotten stories are brought to life by synthetic voices in the Himalayan Journals podcast. Subscribe, zone out, binge, and pass it to a fellow mountain junkie.
What drew three men and a long journey into the hidden valleys of Bhutan and Tibet in 1933? The story begins with two purposes, one official, the other scientific. Mr. F. Williamson, traveling with his wife, entered the country in his role as political officer in Sikkim. Alongside him were George Sherriff and Frank Ludlow, who sought not politics, but natural history. On the 5th of May, Sherriff and Ludlow left Gangtok for the Ha Valley in western Bhutan. Snow lay deep on the Natula, forcing them to halt for a week at Gangu. Yatang was not reached until the 14th. They lingered a few days in the Chumbi Valley, then crossed the Masang Kyung-du Range by the Kyu-la and the Ha-la. At last, they reached Ha Zong, where Williamson, his wife, and Raja St. Dorje joined them on the 15th of June. The combined party now set eastward. Their route took them through Paro, Trashi Chodzong, Punakha, Wangdupotrang, and Trongsa. This was one of Bhutan's main highways, the thread binding its western valleys with the east, crossing watersheds of many rivers that flowed from the Himalayan snows southward. On the 11th of July, they arrived at Bumthang, the summer seat of the Maharaja of Bhutan. Here the travelers parted. Sherriff and Ludlow turned east toward Trashiyangsi, while Williamson prepared for Tibet. Everywhere they went, they were met with courtesy. Camps were made ready before their arrival. Supplies and transport were given freely. At times, paths were freshly cut through jungle so dense it seemed impassable. The hospitality of the Maharaja and his people was genuine, and it left its mark on each of the visitors. From Bumthang, Williamson's party turned north along the Chamka Chu, climbing towards the Monla Kung. This glacier pass at 17,442 feet marked the frontier between Bhutan and Tibet. From its summit, they looked upon the Kulha-Kangri Massif, rising more than 24,000 feet, only 12 miles to the north. Meanwhile, on the 18th of July, Sherriff and Ludlow crossed the Rudol, 12,600 feet high, and reached Lunse Dzong on the 28th. They pressed eastward over the Dongala to Trashiyangsi Dzong. From here, they struck into little-known ground. Following the Trashiyangsi Chu Valley, they reached Lao in 3 stages, about 23 miles. At Lao, they left the main stream and turned east to Xingbe, at the foot of the Mila. From the 15,000-foot summit, they saw a valley of hanging glaciers, drained by a river that flowed southeast into the Nyamjang Chu. The slopes around the Mila held a rich alpine flora, and a brief pause in the monsoon allowed them to gather rare plants. Retracing their steps to Tobrang, they crossed the Donga Range into the Koma Chu Valley by the Kangla. Few had used this way, for miles of thick rhododendron forest had to be cleared before they could pass. At Sawang, they joined the path once followed by Claude White in 1906. From there, they climbed the valley to Narim Thang, reaching it on the 18th of August. For 10 days they rested, then crossed the Kangla and Bodla into Tibet, arriving at Ha Zong on the 1st of September. Still following White's line, they moved up the Kuru Gorge to Ha Zong and Lung. At Monda, they left his path and struck new ground, crossing the Mandala to monastery on the shore of Pomo Changtang Tso. From To, they passed over the Lingla at the head of the Lingbe Chu, followed it down to Ling, and came to the western shore of the Yamdruk Tso, tracing Williamson steps to Nangkartse Dzong. Turning westward, they went to Gyantse, and finally returned to India by the Gyantse Fari Road, reaching Kalimpong on the 7th of October. In their passage, they observed the pattern of vegetation. As Ludlow later noted, the zones described by Kingdon Ward for the Mishmi Hills were seen in Bhutan as well. Conifers did not truly appear until about 8,000 feet. Between 8,000 and 10,000 feet grew Tsuga brunoniana and Larix griffithy. From 10,000 to 12,000 feet stood dense forests of Abies webbiana. Above them, between 12,000 and 13,500 feet, stretched the alpine meadows and rhododendron scrub. Thus ended 2 journeys in a single summer, one official, one scientific, both leaving behind maps, notes, and memories of rare hospitality, high passes, and the hidden valleys of Bhutan and Tibet.